13,752 words. Webinar script complete. What's up, guys? Jason here, and welcome to episode 15 of Building an Online Business from Scratch, where I'm walking you from A to Z, everything I'm doing to set up an online consulting practice from scratch and build a webinar funnel on the front end to promote that product and service. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about the 7-step webinar writing formula that I've developed after watching multiple webinars that are live right now and are converting from cold traffic. And so one of the keys here is that this particular webinar script that I'm about to go over with you guys is based on what people are actually doing right now. So I went to Facebook, I opted into people's lists, and I went through their webinar sales funnels in multiple industries and broke down what they did specifically in each one of their webinars and created this success formula, if you will, for how to write what I think will be the perfect webinar for cold traffic. And again, this is for cold traffic. So this is if you're just getting started and you're talking to people who don't necessarily already know you. And that's a really key difference because there are a lot of blog posts and information out there about webinar scripts, but they don't really do a good job of building rapport and connecting with the audience because they're written by people who already have lists and don't have to go through that initial, here's why you should listen to me and here's my personal story type stuff. They can just jump straight into the content delivery and then the sale of their product or service. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So as usual, I'm going to jump into my OneNote file and I'm going to walk you through each one of these 7 critical steps for what I like to call the perfect webinar script. Now, unlike some of the other episodes we've done in the past, I'm not going to go through my webinar script in this video. As you guys know, I always like being completely transparent and just showing you everything, all of my emails, all of my sales copy. But in this particular video, we're just going to go over the 7 steps, and make sure to subscribe and like this video so you can get updated when I put out the next video, which will show you the actual webinar in depth, and I'm going to break down a couple of them for you over several videos. But that'll be a webinar in itself. That'll take like 3 hours. So in this video, we're going to keep it a lot shorter than 3 hours. Let's dive in. Now, what you're looking at here is my OneNote file, and then I pulled up one of the swipe files I have for my webinars. And I just wanted to start by saying it's really important that when you're writing your webinar, you go through at least 2 or 3 others just to get a feel for how other people are doing it in your particular niche or industry. So I'm in the make money online niche. And so I went and clipped a couple of webinars from some of the bigger names in my industry to learn specifically from them on what they're doing. Because it's one thing to take a course and say, okay, we put this here, we put that there. But it's another thing to watch them do it live or watch one of your competitors do it live and then dissect what they're doing. And so I definitely recommend doing a screen capture or, downloading their video if it's on a replay. So just wanted to start with that. Okay, with that said, let's just dive straight into this webinar script. Now, the first thing I always like doing when I dive into something is remembering what is the goal here? What are we trying to accomplish? What is the point of our webinar? So the point of our webinar is twofold. Number one, build goodwill so we can sell our product. And how we back into that is through the first step, which is building rapport. So we build rapport in step 1 so that we build goodwill so that we can sell our product. Otherwise, you come on and you say something like, hey, my name's Jason and you should buy my stuff. Like, that doesn't really work. There's a whole lot of relationship building that needs to go on in between that initial, hi, I'm here, and hey, this is what I think you should purchase from me. So with that being said, step number 1 of the 7-part webinar formula is the affirmation. And this can be broken down into a couple of different slides. And this will probably be about 5 to 10 slides total. So I'm breaking them down into 3 sections just to make it easier to explain. So the first part is you're just going to introduce yourself with a couple of credibility points. So I'd say something like, hi, my name's Jason. I've built a couple of online businesses and I want to show you some of the things I've learned over the years of doing this. And that would be it. So You definitely don't want to come across as bragging, but at the same time, we want to give our viewers enough information to where they're confident that you know what you're talking about. Once you've done that, so that'll be the first couple of slides, then you'll move into why they should care. And this is essentially where you're just going to repeat the marketing message you've had throughout your entire sales funnel. So you can go all the way back to your webinar registration page, and you can check out the channel for a video on how to put that together and the copywriting that goes in there. But on that page, you will have had a couple of bullets, and you will have taken those bullets and use them in your introduction videos if you decided to do that, and in your email copy that got them to show up to the webinar and reminded them that they should show up to the webinar. Again, make sure to subscribe because I went through that entire process already. So now that they're here, we're going to once again repeat the benefits of why they showed up and why they should stick around. And that's all you're going to do. So you can just do 4 to 5 benefits. It'll be the same benefits throughout. We'll just slightly tweak the way we communicate it using a little bit different vernacular along the way. So you're saying the same benefit, the same result. You're just saying it in a different way. And then finally, you want to have an enrolling statement. And this is where we push out everyone who should not be on this webinar. So for whatever reason, through our process up until this point, hopefully we filtered out all but the best prospects, because we only want people who are going to get a whole lot of value from our webinar to stay on and, could consume the content. Otherwise, you're going to get a bunch of people who are going to be mean in the chat box, number one, which can be distracting. And number two, then they're just not going to be upset, and it's going to hurt your overall brand as you move forward and grow, because they're going to be a bunch of people who are a little resentful. Even if you've done your best to filter them out up until this point, this is just one last kind of audience check to say, hey, this is really perfect if you're ABC or if you want to XYZ. And this is another way to talk about benefits that you're going to be delivering as well. So it's a simple sentence structure. I have a couple here. It says, so this is for you if you want to blang, 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 bang, bang. And then you can move on to the house rules, which is number 2. Now, this one was a little tricky because as I was surveying different webinars, it was interesting to find how this particular section was handled. And in my research, I found that a lot of people like to call this the differentiate phase. But there were a couple of what I'd say world-class copywriters in their writing and delivery that frame this as house rules. And I think that this is a really, really great way to frame your differentiation. So with all that out of the way, let's see what actually it means. So we want to ensure that we are not lumped into all the webinars they've done in the past. So these are all the webinars that are out there. And then this is our webinar over here. So we want to be the lone webinar that's actually valuable, actually cool, and not get lumped in with all these other guys. So there are 2 ways you can do this. Number 1, which is the differentiate, which is what I've seen most of the time. And that is, this webinar is different because we're not going to talk about gimmicks. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to talk about that. This isn't get rich quick. This isn't lose 10 pounds in 3 days, or whatever the gimmicks in your marketplace may be. And the more specific you can be on those gimmicks, especially if you know a competitor is pretty much lying to people about what they could do, and you can point out those lies, then it's going to give you credibility because you're saying, hey, I know that those people are lying. I'm not going to lie to you. Or, hey, I know that isn't really the whole truth, and I'm here to tell you the truth, or I'm here to show you a different way that I think is better. Now, obviously, don't call out other specific businesses because that would be slander. And I'm pretty sure you can check with your lawyer. That's not okay and could get you in trouble. So anyway, the best way to do this, I think, and I think this is pretty clever, if I do say so myself, it's where you frame it as, because we're not going to do high pressure sales, or because we're not going to talk about weight loss gimmicks, or because I'm not going to insult your intelligence by telling you there's some magic pill to lose weight, or there's some silly NLP pickup line that's going to get you, the hot date of your choice. I need you to turn off social media and get out a pen and paper and take some notes on this, because we're really going to hit the ground running and talk about some real actionable tactics and strategies and proven methods for fill in the blank solving your big problem. So when you frame it like that, you're doing two things. Number one, you're telling them to turn all the other stuff off that inevitably is there, because nobody has just one tab open, right? They've got Facebook open, they're looking at their phone, they've got other distractions. So it's a way to ask them politely to please close those distractions, and you're giving them a valid reason. This is different from everything else. And you're saying that without explicitly devoting an entire slide to trying to convince your viewer that this is different. So it's kind of cool, because the way you say it and present it in this fashion, you're just assuming that the viewer is going to believe that this is different, as opposed to trying to prove to them that this is different. So you're stating it as a fact. This is different, and this is why we need to close everything off and focus on the webinar. So once you've got their focus, you've pushed out all the people who shouldn't be there, it's time to build rapport. And this is where you build that connection between yourself and the audience. And you do that by saying, hey, you know what? I wasn't that much different than you. And you go through a very basic story formula where you start with the setting of your story. You just say, hey, this is where I was in life. And you want to make that as close to where your prospect is or your ideal customer is as you can. Of course, another link in the description. Don't worry, I'll link to everything that I talk about with other videos, because we did go over that as well. And once you've done that, you can talk about the solutions you tried and how you failed, solution you tried, how you failed. And then you can talk about, but then I finally found something that worked. And instead of diving into the details, you'll say, I finally found something that worked. And then this is what the wonderful result I got. And once you've done that, you've done two things. You've built rapport and you've set up for your value bomb, which is number 4. Yes, I just made that up. I thought it was fun. I just wanted to come up with what was a name that would show, because this is going to be 30 or 40 minutes of your webinar, right? This is a 90-minute webinar. What's something that communicates this is going to be a value-packed portion and you're holding nothing back? So value bomb is step number 4. And so I'm going to go back to the story real quick. So in that story, I just talked about how there's that part where you don't go into the details. You talk about the failure. I found this great solution, and you kind of gloss over that part, and then you go straight into, this is the wonderful life I have now. Well, your solution will be that missing part of the story. So you'll come in and say, so what I want to do now is share with you that super cool solution that I discovered that allowed me to benefit or get all those great results I just told you about. And what's great about this structure is that you've already laid out all the benefits of what you're going to talk about. So they have a reason to sit through that 30 or 40 minutes of explanation and value delivery, because they already know what they're going to get as a result of it, because you explain that in your story. So pretty cool, right? So that's the value bomb. You hold nothing back. And the only tip I have for this is you don't want to be super detailed. So for example, I'm in the sales funnel building or business marketing niche. So I talk about landing pages and sales pages, but I just talk about the design elements and some copy. I don't go into the HTML or whether or not you should use ClickFunnels or OptimizePress or lead pages or Insta pages. I don't go into that in the webinar, because those are details that are not really important. So I just want to go over, here's the system, you need this sales page, and here's what should be on it, but not necessarily the details of the HTML and the CSS, because I don't want the viewer to be sitting there and be like, yeah, I can do this. And then that mean little voice in the back of their headset starts talking to them and says, but you don't know how to do HTML. You don't know CSS. You don't know what the heck ClickFunnels is or Instapages or whatever, Instagram. Like, what is all this stuff? And you always want to keep in mind what that mean little voice is saying to your audience. So that's why you don't want to go into details, because you'll be giving that mean little voice fuel. So once you've done that, you're ready for the offer. And this is where copywriting skill really comes in. And because most of us are just getting started, we don't have the decade of copywriting experience it takes to write a really compelling and good pitch. So this is something that I borrowed directly from Dan Kennedy. Don't take credit from it at all, unlike the previous 2 steps. And it's here's what I got, here's what I'll do, here's what to do next, why you should do it now. And that's it. So once you're done delivering all that value in your your value bombs phase, you're going to say, okay, to something to the effect of transitions. So what I've just showed you is the exact system and strategy I use to blank. And if you'd like me to help you, here's what we can do. And then you go straight into, I've developed this 30-day program for losing weight, right? And so there's what you got. Here's what it'll do for you. Over the next 30 days, it will help you do 1, 2, 3, 4. And what it will help you do should tie into those benefits and results you talked about in your story, right? So you're closing a loop and you're reinforcing what you're saying. Consistency is key here. And then number 3, here's what to do next. You just tell them, go to the checkout page, enter in your credit card information. After that, you'll be taken to the login and you'll be able to start immediately. And then here's why you should do it now. Talk about whatever urgency there is around it. If it's a limited time offer, then you can talk about that. Or if it's not, then what you can do is talk about the things or problems that are going to come up if they don't take action now. Like if weight loss, for example, you can just say, hey, if you don't start now, it's going to be harder because that fat is just going to keep building and building and building. And by the way, triglycerides actually never go away. They only shrink. So the more fat you get, the less fat you can actually potentially lose in the future, and the harder it is to lose, or something to that effect. Just build on, hey, if you don't do this now, these bad things are going to happen, or you're going to be stuck in your situation. And then once you've done that, you're ready for the close. And we're all probably familiar with this from sales pages. This is the part where you say, in module 1, we do bing, 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 bing. In module 2, we do bing, 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 bing. In module 3, we do bing, bing, bing. And you just go through module 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have your few bonuses. 2 to 3 is a good number to have. Anything after that, it kind of feels like you're just throwing stuff at the audience. Like, then we got this bonus, and we got that bonus, and we got this bonus. And we've all seen those sales pages where they're like 12 different bonuses, and you go, oh my gosh, okay, well, these bonuses can't be worth that much. So you'll actually start diminishing the perceived value of those bonuses if you have too many. So 2 to 3 seems to be kind of the sweet spot in terms of number of bonuses. And then finally, if it's a live webinar, you can have a Q&A. And this is the easy part because all you do is sit back and you just answer questions. You just be yourself, answer questions. It'll be something very similar to this video that we have right here. And it'll just be, okay, John, well, let me tell you more about, this specific part of building a sales page. And that's where you can go into detail, because that's when those type A personalities or those people who really do want to learn will ask those questions. And of course, only caveat here is if it's not a live webinar, please don't use one of those automated systems that pretends that you're live and pretends to ask you questions, because even if your chat is off by a millisecond, 1 millisecond, your audience will be able to know, and your credibility and rapport building, all that brand equity and goodwill you built goes like this, just splats. So it might help you make more sales, but we're always thinking about the long game. And even if the person doesn't buy on this webinar, if you delivered value and you followed all of these steps, they'll most likely eventually purchase from you in the future because of the goodwill you've built up with them. So definitely want to make sure that you're not sabotaging your future success trying to just squeeze out 2 or 3 more sales out of your webinar. And that's all it takes to put together a power-packed webinar that builds rapport and goodwill and allows you to easily sell your product or service at the end of it without coming across as salesy or spammy. So I hope you enjoyed this particular episode. I had a blast putting it together. I spent a lot of time going through other webinars, going through blog posts and surveying to come up with this really simplified 7-part formula for you. And I hope you found value out of this video. If you did and you got some insights, go ahead and hit that like button and then subscribe for more business building tactics and marketing strategies just like the ones we talked about in this video. And of course, in the description, I'll have the 7 steps with brief description of each, and then go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section below after you've subscribed, letting me know what your business or what industry you're in and what kind of webinar you're thinking about putting together. Or if you're not sure if webinars are right for you, go ahead and ask about that too. And I'd be more than happy to help you figure out if webinars are good for you and growing your business or starting your business. So until next time, keep building the business you love, and I'll see you guys next week in episode 16. Take care.